Welcome guys, week 2, basic baking. All right, I'm Chef Kennedy from last week. What we should have collected today, you should have ready, is the journal from the work we did last week, week 1. Remember that the template, you all found the template in the learning path?
Yes.
All right, no problems with it, you downloaded it, it was friendly? Okay. What we're gonna do today, all right, week 2. So we're getting into different topics and different techniques. Remember what we said last week. Recipes are insignificant if you don't know the technique. You can walk around with recipe books. If you don't master the technique, you're at risk of not being able to produce those recipes.
Yes.
Make sense? All right, so this week, we're going to visit one of the family of quick breads. I'm gonna talk about the biscuit mixing method. All right? I'm going to talk about the safeties and sanitation that accompanies that so that the product is safe and we are not injured, okay? What is your experience with biscuits?
Biscuits and gravy.
Biscuits and gravy.
Butter with
Breakfast for
jam.
dinner.
Butter with jam?
Butter and jam. Chicken? Almost like chicken and waffles, chicken and biscuits.
Sure.
What else would you serve with biscuits?
Kind of like an English
Yeah.
McMuffin.
Breakfast
like
sandwiches.
egg sandwiches, yeah.
Absolutely. How many of you like scones?
Oh, I love scones. They're my favorite.
What if I told you that's them?
I didn't know.
Scone is a disguised kind of biscuit. You'll master the
Tastier.
technique, huh?
Said it's just tastier.
Depends on your perspective, but definitely possibly. Scones are in the family of biscuits.
Okay.
I feel like they're not as flaky though. I mean, kind
Depends.
of.
It comes down to the technique, and we're going to talk about that today. You master the technique, and you'll see how it branches off into different products. Okay? Real quick, this way you're observant if you want to take notes. Homework for week 3, journal. So you want your key terms, all right? And you definitely want to be taking photographs, all right? So you can put those into your journal. Just like last week, lecture, and I got the lecture notes ready if you want to make additional comments. Quizzes are going, in all fairness, are going to be developed based on the lecture notes,
Okay.
okay? Everything dovetails into the next. Okay, so just for your familiarity, yes, last week we met for the first time. That's definitely me. Okay, those are my letters, and this is day 1 of week 2. Like I said in the pre-introduction, we're going to talk about station setup, all right? You guys learned about mise en place. What is mise en place?
To put everything in place.
Absolutely. Why?
To make the flow of the food faster, easier.
So you won't have
Very
to go
good.
back and forth.
Say it again.
So you won't have to go back and forth.
To the fridge,
Yes.
to the oven, to the storeroom.
To anywhere.
Absolutely.
Mainly the fridge, because you want
Right.
to keep everything organized where you have it.
Right, but bring it back to sanitation. How many times could a recipe have something that's time temperature sensitive in its mise en place? Right. You're gonna have your cold stuff properly wrapped, tagged in the fridge, 40 or below. Dry stuff, wrapped and tagged, possibly in a rack away from your bench. First thing we don't want is clutter on the bench. Get clutter on the bench, you have spillage, you have cross-contamination, people get frustrated, and it just has a way of snowballing. All right? We're gonna talk, like I said before, biscuit mixing method. We're gonna start with an explanation of what it is, why it works, and why we need it. And that comes to the expectations, what should the texture be? Think,
Okay.
all right? Reflect on what you have. Pitfalls. What happens if we choose not to do the proper technique? What do we get? All right? And what is a good and bad biscuit? We could start with that in a moment, okay? Technique versus a recipe. What's the difference? What's the difference? You're shaking your head, yes. That would look so confident.
Technique is mainly the way how you form on how to make the biscuit itself.
You're talking hand skills?
Yes, hand skills.
That's certainly a part of technique, yes.
Well, and a recipe can only tell you so much. They can only like explain it to a certain degree, you know?
Ah,
Whereas like seeing it is a little more explanatory, I guess.
So even if I buy a really good recipe book, but I'm not familiar with the technique, and let's say I'm not using all the media at my disposal, I'm not going to YouTube, I'm not searching on Google for a video, I might not know fluently the technique, therefore that really good recipe book is not helping me. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Nice. You're absolutely correct. To answer you, to comment back on your point, if you know the recipe, can you ever really change the recipe?
Yes, maybe.
Cautiously.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I mean, because like too much salt, too much butter, like it's just, I don't know.
It's based on the formula of that recipe. It's specific.
Yeah.
However, if you know the technique, at that point, you're going to understand the percentages of the ingredients within the formula. All right? At that point, you could start exchanging and making the formula your own.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
At that point, you could pick up any recipe book. You're going to be pretty fluent with the technique. Make sense?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so which is better? Can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know what you're doing, then like obviously the recipe doesn't mean anything. But if you don't have a recipe, then like the technique doesn't really mean
Right. So even somebody who's really good, do they still have to carefully measure everything out?
Yes.
Right, it's not like cooking, we can't freehand. Okay? But let's say you're not that good, but you're following the recipe. If you know the technique, do you increase your chances of being successful? Right. Okay, let's be sure you're in uniform for today.
Like,
Here in front of you. Okay, guys. Safety shoes. You got your aprons on you or with you and your kit?
Yeah, they're in the kit.
Perfect. Got your chapeau, you got your hat?
yeah, sure.
Excellent. Have a seat. Okay. Clean shaven?
Yeah, sure.
Nice. Okay. As soon as we get in there, grab a sanding bucket.
Okay.
Assume your workstation is dirty. Give it a nice wiping down, sanitize it, just presume it's dirty, okay? Also, the bowl, the paddle, everything with the mixer, all right? Grab gloves, all right? Visit the hand sink,
Of course.
all right? You'd be surprised. How many contaminants would you normally touch from the time you leave your house to the time you get here?
I mean, I just touched this desk and the chair and
We don't
the
know.
clothes and
We don't know what's on there.
Anything
the paper.
could have bacteria or anything on it.
Steering wheel of your car. I'm sure you're all clean, but
All
sweat and
door
everything.
handles.
Door handles, yeah. So lather up really good, okay? Mixing bowl we talked about. Gloves, all right? We talked about possibly cross-contamination, right? What we could have touched coming in here, all right? Slow the trend. Now, we're gonna be making the biscuit mixing method, which we're gonna talk about in just a few minutes. We want to keep this particular dough cold. We don't want the butter to get soft and be absorbed into the mix. If the butter gets soft, we don't get fluffy biscuits. All right, so wearing gloves not only offers us a sanitary purpose, it slows the transfer of the heat from your hands into that dough. All right? So, what do we have to focus on with our mise en place? Can butter get into the danger zone?
Yes.
Absolutely, don't leave it on your table. We're gonna be dealing with cream, buttermilk, dairy products. They gotta stay refrigerated. Functionally to keep the dough cold, but for the safety sanitation purpose, all right? Work quickly, don't let the product spend too much time on the bench. All right, there's the safety sanitation thing, and there is the functionality of keeping it cold so we get fluffy biscuits. We're also going to be using pastry brushes. Why would a pastry brush fit into the safety sanitation part of the lecture?
I mean,
Can there be stray little bacterias on a pastry brush?
Of
Yeah.
course.
Absolutely, sanitize it before we start, okay? How many times have you used the pastry brush and little bristles came off?
All the time.
Foreign particle contamination, right? We want to be careful of that. All right, so let's get going. On the topic of quick breads, what qualifies? If you had to take a shot.
Dinner rolls.
Dinner rolls.
I mean, not really, because you have to proof them, right?
That's a yeast product.
Okay.
You just hit the home run ball.
Pie crust? Pie crust? Is that a quick bread?
Pie crust is a pastry
Oh, okay.
crust. I don't think it qualifies as a quick bread because you wouldn't eat pie crust as pie crust.
No.
Right. So what are quick breads? We talked about biscuits, we talked about scones.
Biscuits, scones. I'm not sure, Chef.
All right, let's have a look. All right, quick to prepare. Think about this, you wake up in the morning, you want a hot breakfast. What's one of your favorite breakfast things to treat yourself to? That kind of is like a bread.
Donuts. That's
No,
another quick
donuts
bread.
don't qualify as a quick bread, especially yeast donuts. Cake donuts, possibly. What is the leavener in cake donuts?
Air, right?
No,
They don't have.
The chemical, the
chemicals,
baking
exactly.
powder, baking
Exactly. So, reasonably, let's just stay away from box mixes, all right?
powder. Okay.
Talking completely realistic. If I woke up, I came downstairs, I want to have breakfast, I could put together pancakes in about 20 minutes.
Yeah. What about muffins?
Absolutely.
Fried bread?
Fried bread, sure.
Can that be a quick bread?
I would accept that.
Okay.
I like me some fried bread. So thinking about pancakes, waffles, biscuits, scones, what else can you think of?
Well, I said muffins.
Muffins, definitely.
I mean, anything that's like loaf, you know, but you don't have to rice it,
No.
right?
Let's have a peek. You ready? Waffles, right? Loaf breads, which you just said, right? Yeah. Muffins, you said.
Are those scones?
That is a traditional way of doing scones.
Oh,
Some people see them round like biscuits, some people see them already cut out as triangles.
yeah.
In some places, you go to a bakery and it'll be like in a 6-inch or 8-inch round that is scored, like that.
That's nice.
And unfortunately, I'm sorry, that has raisins in it, I apologize. Biscuits, right? With honey dripping. Pancakes, we talked about. Traditional shortcake is actually part of the biscuit mixing method family. We've grown up, right, thinking that a shortcake is like a genoise or some type of fluffy cake.
Yeah.
No, that's it.
It's like a biscuit almost.
Basically, closer to a scone, and the only difference is there's a little bit more sugar,
Okay.
all right? Scones, cheesy biscuits, if you want to talk about savory, all right? Biscuits and gravy, all right? Have you ever seen little mini biscuits, and I'm talking about the size of possibly a soda cap?
Yes. Once.
Right, and sometimes they serve it on the side and you could sprinkle them in soup or stew. So they're the size of like an oyster cracker. Right?
I've seen oyster crackers.
Huh?
I've seen oyster crackers.
Sure, but mini biscuits. What do you do? Think about this. I make the biscuits. What do I do with the scrap? I don't want to take a loss,
Yeah.
right? Reform it, punch out little guys, I'm good. All right? So let's take a peek here. They have to be light, tender, soft, melt in your mouth. If you bit into a biscuit, you come to my restaurant, even if it's in the free bread basket, you bite into it, it's crumbly, dry, chewy. What's your impression?
The food isn't going to be very good.
Yeah,
It's not.
yeah,
I mean, it's your first impression.
yeah,
Sure.
right? So you buy biscuits, you go to a bakery, you go to a supermarket, you buy biscuits. Is this all true? That criteria? What else are you looking for? Fluffy, right?
Flaky.
Light. Because let's be honest, if you're eating dinner and you got biscuits on the side, you do not want the biscuit to fill you up, right? All right. So let's talk about cutting in, part of the biscuit mixing method technique. Why does the biscuit mixing method work? Right? Did you ever see this? And some of us, our grandmas had a little tool ring and you press down into a mix with it, or they use forks.
Yeah, the forks.
Exactly. Cutting in, that was the term. So you would see people with this dry mix in the bowl and they're using forks or knives to cut. The objective is to, in a dry mix, you coat the gluten strands with the shortening. In this case, butter. And what happens? All right, literally this. Have a look. Get the lights. Literally, this is what happens. Biscuit mixing method. Here's my gluten strand, right? If I'm making a simple bread dough, I want my gluten strands to connect. All right? They connect. They're going to trap the little air cells. The bread will, leaven. It'll puff up. It'll proof. I don't want this in a quick bread. I want it tender, right? Yeast bread is chewy. All those gluten strands attached. So what I'm going to do is coat the gluten strands with the shortening. So they start looking like that. So, if they're coated with shortening, they're less likely to join up and give you that spongy, kind of chewy texture. That's appropriate for yeast breads, but not appropriate here. All right? Good one. All right. So, keeping the gluten strand short, and that's literally how shortening gets its name. All right, keeping the gluten strand short, inhibiting them from attaching. All right. The key to this: keep all your mise en place cold. Everything cold. All right. Glove up. If you have warm hands, put on a second set of gloves. All right. Dry ingredients are cut in with the butter. All right. We have two ways of making biscuits and scones. Flaky. If I say flaky, you're automatically thinking pea or bean-sized chunks of butter left in the mix. All right? Mealy, all of the butter is equally and evenly cut in until none of it remains. Now, what you're going to see, all right, and it's going to be mealy, what we're going to do today. We're going to make a flaky biscuit. But when I take this off the mixer and I show you the powder that's left, you're going to say, wow, the granules of butter swelled. It looks like the size of cornmeal now. And you're going to be absolutely correct with that assessment. All right? Now, here's the recipe, and it's in your handout. We got our dry mix, okay? All-purpose flour, 20 ounces. Kosher salt, half an ounce. Sugar, 1 1/4 ounces. Baking powder, 1 1/4 ounces. All right? We're going to sift it 2 times. What function does sifting have?
Gets all the chunks out.
Absolutely, busts up clumps. Another function, there's one more.
Probably well, not poofiness, but no.
It lightens it, makes it fluffy.
Yes, there you go.
That's a great guess.
Mixes them all together.
You're right, it starts the mixing process. You're absolutely correct. Look at it this way. It's a technique that you would use when you want to make a cake. We don't want to overly mix it, right? So if we sift it, aren't those dry ingredients pre-mixed?
Yeah.
Right, it's going to require less mixing on the back end. Now, watch this. To make a good fluffy biscuit, 4 ounces all right, of butter cubed to the size of a raisin, absolutely cold. Now this is the first portion. We're gonna put that into the mixer with our dry mix, and it's gonna be equally and evenly absorbed. But this is what's gonna make it flaky. We're gonna hold back 4 ounces. That's the second portion. Add in second addition of butter, barely cut it in. You want visible chunks of butter, the size of a bean. All right? Now we have cold buttermilk, all right, 16 ounces. We're gonna take the mix out of the bowl. We're gonna put it into a larger mixing bowl so our hands can get in there. We're gonna toss in the buttermilk. And one of you could actually pour it in for me while I'm tossing, all right? So toss together until the mixture is moistened. We're not gonna knead it like bread dough. We just want it to be moistened and sticky, all right? Place on the bench and fold. We're gonna give it an envelope fold, all right? Why fold it, all right? There's a belief that if you make biscuits, scones, or something like that, and you fold them, that when they rise in the oven, they'll come up straighter, okay? So we're gonna use a cutter, cut your biscuits, put them on a parchment-lined sheet pan. We're gonna put them in at 400, 425. All right? Golden brown. Now, what do you think a biscuit costs? Per biscuit,
No.
Oh, never mind now.
for the batch.
Wait.
Uh,
Probably 8.
$8?
$8?
Depending on the size, possibly. Sure. All right, now, if you were gonna have your restaurant, would you give out free bread? Possibly biscuits?
Yes.
Right. It's not gonna generate revenue. All right? You're gonna put them in the bread basket on the table, right? So based on our recipe and currently what we're buying, with our vendors, these are our prices. All right? So what is our most expensive ingredient?
butter.
The butter. Yeah. So that recipe is gonna cost us $2.45, right? Gonna give us 2 dozen biscuits, all right? Which are gonna be pretty big, which comes out to, what do we have there? 11 cents a biscuit? Not bad, right? That's attractive. Now, this is where it gets, into the part of management where you're the chef. You want to maintain a low cost. You're going to put them out as table bread. You're going to budget 45 minutes for an entry-level employee, possibly making in the ballpark of $12 an hour, to make the biscuits. All right? So you could rationally absorb about $9 worth of labor into that batch. So your free bread basket now, 6 biscuits is up to $3.60. All right? So do you start getting a little bit worried when your customers start asking for more bread? Yeah, right. So what's the key? You're the chef. How do you do this and make it work? What's the biggest variable here?
Labor.
Right. You want this person to be really quick. You want them to start it, get it done. So if you could get the labor down to 30 minutes and the biscuits are beautiful, you shaved almost 30% off the price, off the cost. Right?
True.
All right. Freshness and holding. Problem with quick breads, and you've seen this in your own house. How many of you have made pancakes? You made too much. You left them on a plate on the counter for a snack later. What do they like later?
They're like rubbery almost.
Right. More chewy.
It's all cold.
Well,
Of course
yeah.
they're cold.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Still.
all right, imagine this. Let's just say you were inspired, you were hungry, you put it in the microwave real quick. Are they light and fluffy still?
Of course not.
No. And if you spend the money and you buy some nice fresh muffins, how long are they good for? A day?
Maybe.
Maybe. All right? Quicker for quick breads. All right? especially the biscuits and scones. Quicker they go stale, all right? So if you're doing a restaurant, you want people to have biscuits in the bread basket. You want to almost bake them up every hour or every 2 hours, all right? Do not keep well, they stale quickly when hot held. So imagine taking beautiful fresh biscuits and you put them into a bread warming tray or a warming drawer. All the moisture in there is just gonna evaporate out and you're gonna be left with a stale, crumbly biscuit, which is gonna remind you of, you said before, pie dough. All right? They're freshest when the kitchen can bake a batch every hour. The dough, now watch this, if you need to do mise en place. The dough can be made, shapes cut out, then wrapped securely and refrigerated up to 2-3 days. So if I have a person busting this out, doing sheet pan after sheet pan, putting them into the fridge, can a kitchen pull them out every hour and bake them as needed for the front of the house?
Yes.
Right, and that's how you make it work. Now, if you had to talk about quality standards, it's your bakery, it's your kitchen, your pastry shop. How do you assess a biscuit?
Like you said, the moisture content.
All right, so it's got to be moist on the inside. Can't be dry, can't be like pie dough. Matt, you said it before.
The fluffiness?
Fluffiness, it's got to be light. All right, what else?
I guess like
Is it hard? Is it dense? Is it like hard? Like if you flick it.
Hard like a hockey puck?
Yeah.
Well, it shouldn't be. Like fluffy, I think would be the opposite of hard and dense. Right? What about the color? You eat first with your eyes. What about the color?
golden brown.
Golden brown.
Yeah.
And people have varying opinions of what golden brown is. All right? That could be totally up to the house. All right? So, consistent in size and shape. So when they come out, the first one has to look the same as the last. Same roundness, same thickness, same height, same color, okay? We talked about golden color, fluffy, light, tender, buttery. Nobody said buttery.
True.
Have you ever had a biscuit that was made with a butter substitute, margarine or something like that?
I'm sure I have.
Yeah, and how would you know? As soon as I tell you, you'll recognize it. If you took your tongue and rubbed it against the upper palate of your mouth, it'll feel waxy.
Really?
That makes sense.
Dead serious. All right, butter doesn't coat your mouth. Butter substitutes do. So next time you have a biscuit, even a croissant or a rich yeast pastry, scones, do that little test. And butter will not coat your mouth like that. All right? You gotta have a balance of salty sweet. All right, look at it this way. If I'm doing roast beef, herb biscuits on the side, garlic biscuits on the side. Right. Okay, so creativity is in your hands. Okay? How about that one?
Can't just do
Can't just one.
Yeah.
They should be light, all right, and they should be enjoyable, all right? So let's just review, and this is some of the things you said, and we mentioned in the, with the images. We talked about bread basket, right? Table bread, biscuits and gravy, a roast beef and a ham, slider trio on house-made biscuits. What would you put as a price for that?
You said trio, correct?
Trio.
Okay.
Like $15.
Ooh. All right, I don't want to scare you away. I was hoping for about 12.
I was gonna say 10.
Well,
All right, so we met in the
depends on
middle.
if you're ham and turkey and all
Premium, yeah, good
Yeah.
quality.
slow roasted.
Yes. All right. Now, sweet. In the sweet family, we've got scones, shortcakes, which was enlightening, right? You didn't know that this was, right? I take my old stuff, I make bread pudding. All right, you don't throw them away. This is, when you start making the sweet application of the biscuit mixing method, I end up with cobbler topping. Have you ever seen a cobbler?
Yeah.
All right. Why do they call it cobbler? It looks like a cobblestone street.
That
Now,
makes
some
sense.
people make a very liquid kind of quick bread and pour it on. Traditionally, it's little mini biscuits, just placed on top, put it in, it bubbles, the biscuits bake, and that's it, cobbler. All right? So, we're also gonna have a review, or an introduction, I should say, in piping. You guys did a little bit of that so far, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
All right.
a little bit.
First thing, and this is my pet peeve. My first job, I had to clean up after the bakers. They had no, by the end of the day, their pastry bags were all gunky and slimy. I love a clean pastry bag. Okay, I don't like glass on the table. That's the only fault I have with this image, all right? So use some kind of vessel so the stuff doesn't come pouring out the bottom, and you could unwrap the bag, open it up, fill it. I like to fill it up, and I like to twist it in the center so that it fills my hand. To use this, you can't grip it properly. You gotta break the bag in half, twist it, okay? Then if you like, clean it, all right? Use your scraper and push it all in. All right, so what are we gonna pipe today? Shells. The most basic fundamental shape, but for some reason it frustrates most bakers, most students, all right? And I'm gonna show you a trick, and I hope it's enlightening. Where do we apply this? Generally it's the border of a cake, all right? But, look at it this way, savory. How many of you know shepherd's pie or rancher's pie?
Yeah.
What's it garnished with? Mashed
Potatoes.
potatoes. Right. Right. But you don't want to just get the crockery, put the stew in, and then just like take a spoon and just. You want to have a pastry bag. You want to make it look attractive, right? Shells, or at least nice, neat rosettes.
Yeah.
All right, and there's your rosette. Okay. And I'm going to show you a little variation on this. And the thing about piping is, as much as you'll practice, you'll never exactly be piping like I do. It's almost like handwriting. All right? I'll never pipe exactly like you. It's going to be somewhat different. So mine is slightly different than this. All right? But nice, neat, clean, and the most important thing is consistent. If we were to decorate a shepherd's pie, if we were to decorate a cake, you don't want all kinds of original shapes all around. It's got to look the same. A reverse. And when I show you the rosette, and then we grow it into a reverse, you're going to realize, complicated as that looks, it's a rosette with a tail. That's it. Okay? Then we're going to do one shape, which combines a shell and a reverse, which is your fleur-de-lis.
That's beautiful.
It's really not bad. It looks complicated and elegant, but it's actually really easy to do once you get your swing. All right? And then, as a treat, I'm going to show you how to do roses.
The buttercream rose?
Buttercream roses, yes.
That's gonna look nice.
All right? Okay, let's just bring it back. All right, so expect a quiz on quick breads, right? We're going to take a lot of the information from the lecture today.
Okay.
You all took notes, you saw the vocabulary. Next week, bring in your recipe cards for the French baguette, all right? We're gonna go to SUAS, all right, the black book. The terms we're gonna be doing next week is lean dough, single stage mixing method, and fermentation. All right, you all got that?
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
All right, ready?
All right, guys, we're gonna head into the bake shop and I'm gonna do the demo. Wipe it down your bench, get your sani bucket under your station. This, okay, was washed and sanitized. And before you got here, I just pulled it out now. This was in the freezer.
Okay.
All right. Why do you want to chill these things down? What is your enemy during the mixing process?
Heat.
That's certainly an enemy, bacteria, sure, but why would I put it in the freezer? You're not, unless there's something nasty on there, we're not gonna get a flora to grow on stainless steel. So yes, I cleaned it, I sanitized it, but I put it in the freezer.
Because,
You said heat,
Yeah.
and you have the right answer, but why?
because while you're paddling it or whatever you're mixing with it, it'll, you know, the paddle.
Like you got, yeah.
Anyways, it'll like, it creates friction.
Friction.
Heat.
Bingo. Bingo. All right, let me just get the knees and we'll get busy.
Let me grab your roll. Or are you gonna sit there straight in there?
No, I'm gonna do it onto a piece of paper.
Okay.
All right. So. This is what you guys are going to be mise en placing. Okay, we have 2 pounds, 8 ounces all-purpose flour. Actually, yeah, could you give me one?
A big one or
Medium. Perfect.
straight out?
Excellent. Alright, so I like to start the premix. We have 3/4 of an ounce of salt, 2 ounces of sugar, and the leavener is always chemical, no yeast. So I got 2.5 ounces baking powder.
That's a lot, don't you think?
It is. It is. But the recipe works. Alright, so I'm just gonna give this a quick toss. Alright. Get yourself a little bit of parchment paper. All you want to do is like this. Sift it. See the lumps? And we're lightening up the ingredients, but we're also blending them and we're removing clumps. And generally, unless it's really, really humid, you usually won't have a problem. Humidity is kind of your enemy. All right, so one shot. This is going in right here. I double papered it so you won't have an unexpected and unfortunate rip. Okay, now I'm gonna bring this over here so you guys can see. This goes in. Up, lock it in, lock these guys down, and I'm gonna break into the butter.
Is your buttermilk still in the fridge?
It's in the fridge.
Okay.
All right, so this is a full pound. Hang on. Put this in the freezer. Keep it cold. All right, this goes right into here. First speed only. Okay, we're gonna give it about 4 minutes. It's gonna get a little dusty, but that's okay. Now, let's just talk about this. Finished products. All right.
Are we done with this show?
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about the different washes. All right, so I use 2 different things, well, actually 3 different things here. Right here, milk. Traditional biscuit wash gives you a little bit of caramelization on the top, nothing bad. This is an egg wash. You may or may not like it, it's entirely up to you. Now, if I'm doing a scone, milk, all right, plus granulated sugar. All right? So, we have time while that is cutting in. So, we're gonna have some fun. Right. So, who's a little bit hungry?
Me, I'm starving.
Starving. Starving is good. Alright. Starving is good. Here, try one. You want to do? I would have cut it in half. Okay. Not a problem. I whipped this heavy cream before you guys got here. Very often what will happen is the heavy cream will just start wilting. You just need to bring it back. A couple gentle passes. It usually comes right back. Okay?
This is nice.
It's not bad, right? And got my bag.
Better than Pillsbury.
I would hope so. So, what are you looking for? You want to taste the nuttiness, the caramelization, the maillarding,
The butter.
butter,
Definitely buttery.
right? So, less, if we let it color, we let it caramelize less, you're going to get less of that taste. It would be almost as attractive as if you were to eat bread that has a pale crust. Do you understand?
Yeah.
All right?
So it's not going to be as nutty, is that what you're saying?
It's not going to have those layers of flavor.
Oh.
It's not going to happen. All right. Let me just get one thing. All right. Let's check this. What are we looking for? All right, you guys washed your hands, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, reach in, you'll feel nuggets of butter.
Yeah.
Right, we don't want that. We want all this butter equally and evenly distributed into the mix. Right? Okay,
Yeah.
so we're gonna give it another couple of minutes and we're gonna put this stuff together.
All right.
Now, where people get frustrated and they end up doing themselves a disservice is they'll crank the mixer up to second speed to get it going. You're not gonna do yourself any favors doing that.
But then it melts, right?
More friction. You gotta go gentle. All right. Here we go. So I'm gonna take these guys, which have the sugar on them.
Is this just simple syrup or what is that?
That is simple syrup with a tiny little bit of brandy.
Oh, okay.
Okay. one. I like this one. Okay. Just a tiny little bit. And you see how gently I'm touching it? The biscuit by itself is so tender, it almost wants to fall apart. Almost. All right? So, here we go.
No piping tip, or is there a piping
I got tip.
Okay.
All right? So, and I'm gonna build it up. You see the way I'm making a little well on the inside?
Yeah.
Right. There you go. Take a couple of my strawberries, and I had these tossed with a little bit of sugar.
Okay.
I don't put much more than that because I want you to taste the freshness.
Okay.
All right? And we can fit just a tiny little guy more. And there you go. Now, I take the corresponding top
Brush it.
very gently and nice and easy. You got your choice. You could put it like this, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? The other way to do it, can you offset it just like that?
Yeah. So
Right.
that I can see it more.
Mm-hmm. So now we don't only fingerprints on the plate. Take a corresponding or non-corresponding flavor. I just
Complimenting.
right to complement. So I have a little bit of blackberry coulis here. Emphasis is on the dessert. So I'm going to go really light with the garnish.
That looks nice.
Okay? So, something really, really simple. But, where is the emphasis?
On the dessert.
Right. But I want you to taste everything. I don't want one flavor to clobber the others. All right? So what I want to do is I want to get these things to the table, but I want them to be unveiled. I don't just want to put a bowl with bread. So, proper, napkin fold. And I can take these guys and arrange them in here nice. Okay? So now by doing this, we're containing the heat.
And presenting them nicely.
Right. So now they get to the table. Folks do this. Out comes the steam, out comes the aroma. All right? Here we go. Put this right there. Dig in, guys. Dig in.
I think they're pretty warm.
All right. Let's see how this guy is doing. Now, you notice I'm not reaching my hand in here until the machine came to a full stop, right? This will crush you. All right? Could you get me that butter that we put back into the freezer? Perfect. Thanks. So now it's the point in the recipe where we're going to add the second portion of butter, the second 8 ounces. All right? So we kept this really, really cold. And we want to reduce it to what size as a point of reference? What
Pea
size?
size.
Pea size. Right. Pea, bean, raisin.
Raisins.
Could be. Well,
Back
you don't
to
like
those raisins.
You don't like raisins. Neither do I. All right. That's going to take a moment. All right.
This is tasty. You still taste the butter. It's
Right.
nice.
It's light, fluffy, and there's different types of desserts. And that's why there's something out there for everybody. if I serve somebody a chocolate dessert, chances are they want to be really indulgent for the night, right?
Of course.
So if they really feel full at the end of the meal, they had their chocolate fix, fine. I gotta keep up something on the menu that works well for the folks that want to not be so decadent, you know? So I'm gonna put an emphasis on fresh fruits, a lighter, you know, dessert, with an emphasis on freshness. Make sense? Yeah. Now, what did we say the cost approximately was for this? Did we talk about that?
No. We talked about the biscuit.
Right.
The biscuit cost you 11 cents.
Yeah. This, with the whipped cream, with the coulis, with the berries, I'm bringing it in for about, I would have to guess right now, 80 cents. Maybe $1. All right?
But you're gonna charge like 5,
8.
6. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And the thing is, do people get this at home? No, I don't get it. All right. So, all set. Pastry bag with a start to it.
Okay.
Okay. Clean start to it. And I only put enough in the bag so that I could grip it. Everybody's hands being different.
Of course.
So for the shell, the common mistake, all right, is that folks come in and this is what they think they see. They go up and back, up and back.
But that doesn't happen.
That's not it, okay? What's gonna happen, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start piping. The cream will touch the paper and it will fold onto itself by itself. Watch. You see?
You're lifting it up just teeny tiny
Just
bit.
a tiny bit, right? So what people think I'm doing is this. I'm not doing that. It's kind of an illusion. I'm here, but you see the way it just folded itself?
Yeah.
Right. And I give it the tail. And there you go.
Okay.
Now the rosette, this is important because you're also going to probably make bad cookies with this shape.
Okay.
It's going to begin and end in the same place, but it's not a ring. It's this. It should have height. It builds on itself.
Okay.
All right? So if these were cookies and I put them in the oven, they're virtually identical if I pipe this around the cake.
Yeah.
All right? Now the reverse. This is what people think they see. We have to take the rosette that has height and then give it a tail.
Okay.
All right? Because this one's kind of flat. So watch, we're going to do this.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
And then when we get fancy,
Okay.
all right?
Yeah.
So now, just to get a little crazier, we're going to do a fleur-de-lis. So it's going to be a shell.
Okay. And then you reset. Oh. That looks nice.
Now, this is what everybody likes to see. All right. Let me just check this real quick. We're good. I'm going to leave this off.
Okay.
Home by turning this like that, straight in. All right?
Okay.
Anything builds up, get it off. And I tilt it out. I start angling it now.
Okay. looks nice.
Thank you. Can you see?
Yeah, let's get a close up. Alright. Cool.
All right, so we'll do one more.
Rolling.
All right, so let's get this off the machine. And I'm gonna take it to the bench. We have nice bean-sized chunks in here. So what I wanna do is I like to put it into a bigger bowl. It gives me visibility and it allows me to work.
Okay.
Okay, so this goes in here. You've got to see what you're doing. If it's in a deep bowl like this, the chances of having raw, unmixed product in the bottom increases.
Okay.
Okay, you want to come right next to me?
Yeah.
All right. I got my bench scraper.
Okay.
I'm gonna make a well. Confirm that I have nice pea or bean-sized chunks in here.
Okay.
Can you capture these?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Try and sift them so you can see. See?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that looks nice.
Yeah. And I can feel them in here. Oh, got a bunch. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
And we are done. Perfect. Now, you see the way I have no dust left in the bottom here almost?
Yeah.
I got a tiny little bit. And once I give this a quick toss, all that dust
It's gone.
is gonna be absorbed. That's it. There is nothing. So you might be concerned that this looks chunky.
Yeah.
No. All right, you're gonna see it come together in about the next minute.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna clean this guy up.
You want me to get to the dish pit?
Yeah, put it on the bench right there.
Okay.
But stay and watch.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're gonna miss the good part. We worked really hard. We don't want to not be here for the good stuff. All right. I need it. Okay, flour the bench.
Okay.
Now, we're gonna take this and okay, I'm gonna kind of pack it so it's kind of easy to handle.
Okay.
All right, and out it comes. Okay, and I'm gonna get it all. Okay, this you can put right under my bench. I got a bus tub under there.
Okay.
So now, clean this off because I got really good stuff on here. I'm just gonna leave this here. I'm gonna use it in a moment.
All right.
So now, what do we do? I like using the rolling pin. Some folks like to do it with their hands. Either one is good. Right? So, like I said, we're gonna roll this out. We're gonna give it a couple of folds, which helps it rise evenly. Okay? So now I take my bench scraper and I'm gonna bring it in. 1, 2,
What did you call that?
bench scraper,
No,
envelope fold.
the envelope.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm gonna do the same thing straight up and down. 1, 2. All right, now before I proceed, I'm gonna reflour the bench.
Okay.
Because now, this is showtime. Now, the thing is, you want to be economical with using the rolling pin. Every time we pass the rolling pin, do we stimulate gluten?
Of course.
Yes, absolutely. 1 second? Okay. All right, we want them to be the same. They will grow in the oven, so what you see here is not really indicative of what's gonna come out.
Is it gonna grow like probably double?
Might. Okay, so that is a very generous biscuit.
Oh wow.
Right. Okay. All right, you want to try?
Sure.
There you go. Every now and then, dip it into the flour so it doesn't stick.
It's cold.
Yes. Now, if you think you're getting a lot of flour on the outside, we have
It's
one more. There you go.
maybe.
That's fine. You can probably squeeze another, possibly another 3. And then I'll show you how to take the scraps and put them back together.
Has a little hole in it.
You're good. By the time it bakes, you're probably not going to notice that.
Okay.
All right, so take this. What you don't want to do is start kneading in a lot of the bench flour. So I'm going to grab it, take it to a cleaner part of the bench. I'm going to pat them together. All right, now bring them back here.
Roll it out again.
Roll it out, and I'm
But
going
you don't
to
want to knead it
do not knead it.
because then it does the gluten.
Right. So. Now, unfortunately, are these biscuits not going to be the same shape as the other ones? Probably. They've been handled more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
It's about the same thickness still.
Yep. So if I do like this, I'm just about there.
Yeah.
All right, if I pass them to you, there you go.
Yeah, they're the same size.
Perfect.
Assembly line. This is how you don't pay people as much. Work faster.
Work faster. You don't have to work. You don't have to work harder. You just have to work smarter.
Yes.
All right. So, if I'm making biscuits tomorrow, I take this, chop it up really small, and then I throw it into the mix. But nothing gets thrown out.
Okay.
Okay? That's
It's
it.
not gonna do anything.
Before we put our wash on top, can you see the chunks of butter?
Yes.
Right? Right. And can you see the layers
Oh yeah.
in some cases here? Right. So what I'm gonna do is, let's say these 2 rolls will be milk.
Okay.
These 2 rolls will be egg. These 2 rolls will be milk plus sugar, which is what we saw on the first demo tray.
Okay.
All right? So, you want to do the milk?
Sure.
Now, you don't want it soaked, really light. You see the way it's not pooling?
Yeah.
Right, that's what you want.
So, what if you wanted a rustic biscuit? Would you put flour on top of it?
You mean like sift it and sprinkle it?
Yeah. Or no, is that not recommended?
You know something? If your impression of a rustic biscuit has a little light dusting of flour on it, go with it. But I might choose to use rice flour. It's
Okay.
lighter, it's almost the same size grain, but it's gonna be really white. It's gonna look good.
Okay.
Yeah. But certainly if you want to use like bread flour or all-purpose flour, sure.
And are you doing the same thing, just really light?
Really, really light. Just enough to wet the brush. We don't need pools of it. Okay, do the milk,
With the milk.
and then I'll sprinkle the sugar, and we'll get these guys into the oven.
Okay.
Oven is set, it's hot, and we're ready to go. absolutely. You're doing fine. It's better to have less at this stage than to have too much.
Okay.
So just a tiny bit, the tiniest sprinkling. All right, into the oven.
Okay. Into the middle rack? Or?
Middle rack would be great. Give it a little tap. Bingo.
How long?
Set it at 10 and then we'll give them a spin.
Okay.
The rough part is over. All right, so these just came out of the oven. They seem to be done, so what I do is I'll literally take one, pull it apart, and there it is. This is beautiful.
Wait, one.
Not doughy, not wet, and it's certainly not dry. Okay, so now we're gonna give these a taste test. Pick one.
I want that one.
You want that one? All right, you want me to give you a cut?
Yes.
All right. Now, this, I'm not even putting any weight on that knife. All right? So,
Alright. Smells
Yeah.
super buttery.
so what we're gonna look for, do we have nice, even, consistent golden color?
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
most part.
Now, I don't know if you could pick this up on the video. The egg is all right? The milk, it caramelized, but it's not shiny.
Yeah.
Can you see the difference? Now, some of these guys are flaky as all get out. You could absolutely see the flakes. You know, so let's take a peek. I'm gonna pull one apart. So what did we say? And you can see the voids, you see these empty spaces? The best way to do this is with a pen. That's part of the key to the flakiness.
That makes sense.
Yeah. All right. So, now, literally go like that. Is it light?
Oh yeah.
Right. Okay. So you can see the kind of chartreuse golden color. That's the ingredients, especially the butter. And no, I didn't sneak an egg yolk in there. All right. You could smell it. Now, you want to taste the caramelization of the outside. A little bit nutty. Balance of salt. Balance of sugar. Falls apart in my mouth.
Of course.
Wow, that is tender. I mean, that is
Oh,
not.
yeah.
You don't get biscuits like this outside of that little roll.
And just like look at it, it's just like layers.
You see the layers? That's it.
It's nice.
And I think folks that have never done it before, they are intimidated and they think it's going to be a lot of work, but it's actually.
Like nothing almost.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you had to do this every day in a restaurant, wouldn't you stay 24 hours ahead so these would go into the fridge, be nice and rested, pull them out as you need them, wash them, get them into the oven as needed?
I mean, seems easy enough.
It does. It does. So, biscuit mixing method. Tell me real quick. What can you remember?
Okay, so first, all the ingredients are cold,
Good,
including the bowl after it's washed, of course.
right?
And then you put the flour, sift it like 2 or 3 times.
With what?
Um,
Flour?
the flour, the chemical
Leavener.
salt- yeah, the chemical
Right.
leavener, the salt,
Right?
and the sugar.
Bingo!
And then you take half of the butter
Right,
and you put it into the mixer
right?
and you do it until you can't feel the chunks anymore.
Cut it in, right, dry
Yeah.
mix.
And then you obviously your other half is in the fridge while it's mixing.
Right.
And you take that other half and you put it in, and then you mix it until they're pea size.
Oh,
And
bless
then,
you, girl.
And then once they're pea size, then you put them into a bigger bowl so that you can
Right.
see what you're doing. and then you add your buttermilk or heavy cream, whatever it is.
Right. And if you saw what I was doing, would you want to do it all by yourself, or would you like to have somebody there conveniently to pour for you?
I mean, it's convenient, but
Right.
I mean, you could do it if you needed to.
Right, no doubt. No
But
doubt.
yeah, and then you just mix it until it's moist, and then you roll it out. Pat it, fold it, roll it out.
Right. And you've got to be conscious of how much agitation that rolling pin is giving it, because the rolling pin does stimulate the gluten.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we kept everything cold,
Yes.
kept ourselves gloved, bench was sanitized, bowl and paddle was sanitized, and nothing got into the temperature danger zone. These guys did not linger after they were made. They went
Straight in
from
the
the
bowl.
bench to the oven.
Yep.
And the demos, they went from the fridge to the pan to the oven. So there was no temperature danger zone lingering. Great job.